Hey yo guys, I'm here to give you my thoughts on the March Badness as well as the debut ROH television show on HDNet. For those of you wondering about the Klitschko-Gomez fight, haven't seen it yet, but for what I've heard from a lot of people, it was basically a cakewalk for Vlad Klitschko. Not Vlad, but Vitaly Klitschko, really, so I don't tend to really give a review of it. I'll probably check it out, but I don't plan on reviewing it, as so many people have as well. Plus, it was just a cakewalk for Klitschko. But anyways, before I get into my March Badness and ROH TV thought, I found out this morning there was two more passings in the professional wrestling business. One would be, a guy you probably wouldn't know too much about, and Steve Dahl, who passed away at 44. We don't know too much about him yet. And the other being AAA, regular mainstay, Abismo Negro. Really, I'll give my thoughts on Steve Dahl first. Steve Dahl, he was more of a regional territory kind of successful wrestler. I mean, he, was a star, broke out in Dallas. He had that, blonde hair, nice, good-looking body, kind of looked for a super baby face, but, that didn't pan out as well. He and Scott Peterson formed the Southern Rockers, and they were, a pretty hot tag team down in Portland. And when Portland tried to, have its last revival run, and then eventually, I believe it was Mark Smith who took over the role with Steve Dahl, and they formed the team of Well Done when they got picked up by the WWF. And from about 93 to 95, they were about there. They were really just, a preliminary job tag team. They didn't really complete much. I mean, they were managed by Harry Whippleman. The only thing you're really going to remember them for is probably being, a part of the 1995 tag team tournament that took place at the start of 95, where they were the first team to lose to the Cinderella Story team of the 1-2-3 Kid and Sparky Plug, Bob Holly. Really, that's about all they really completed. They were just, preliminary tag team. They were for two guys that were pretty good workers. They worked the Smoking Guns a lot on, the early days of, on Superstars and, a lot of house shows. They put on some good little matches there. But Dahl, to me, will probably be remembered more, for his stuff on television. He was the guy who was taking on the Mauler Mike Enos when Scott Hall made his invasion when he debuted with WCW. So that's where you're really going to remember Dahl's, from television. Now, he was also a WCW job guy, working the likes of Jushin Thunder Liger and many others. He had, we really hadn't heard Steve Dahl up until about 2006 when he had, a big health scare and whatnot. He almost had to die, was almost killed up at that point. It was an awful health. And they almost, he almost passed away back in 2006. Well, it's 3 years later. He was apparently in horrible shape. He was on life support, and I guess his family decided to take him off there. So there's another wrestler passing away, not even at 50. So it's a sad thing there. And then with Abismo Negro, this is a guy that I've been working with the AAA promotion since, the inception of AAA back in 1992. He started there as Winners, teaming with Super Kello, doing a male mask dancing gimmick. And, he did, there was sort of an angle where they had Dissension, and I believe on one of the original Triple Mania shows, Super Kello and Winners, I should say, worked for a mask versus mask match with Kello getting the win, and, Winners eventually worked a couple AAA shows without the mask before the Abismo Negro gimmick took place, but up until that point, he worked some trios matches with Rey Mysterio Sr. and Rey Jr., so that tells you, where they thought of him. But really, Abismo Negro character, it's a synonymous character with AAA. It's always in their intros. It was one of the top heels, always, gaining, important runs in the company throughout its illustrious lineage, ever since it started back in 1997, the gimmick, I should say, of Abismo Negro. Really, he got important runs. Just one of, this awesome costume gimmick that, Pena gave up, put him, but, the man that was inside there made the character mean so much. really, I guess, other than that, he had some, sort of success here in North America where he worked some Raws back in 1997, when the WWF was trying to basically steal the Lucha invasion that WCW had when they had, the likes of Super Loco, who was super crazy, Latin Lover, Heavy Metal, Cibernetico, and Pierrot, and many others work Raws, and they were part of the Royal Rumble '97. So he was on those Raw shows. He may have worked the dark match on that show against Hio Pero Aguayo. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I do know Hio Pero Aguayo worked the dark match on that show. And really, I guess his most prominent success in North America was part of TNA in the original World X Cup that took place back when TNA was running at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds. He was part of Team Mexico with the likes of, I believe, Hector Garza as well. I think Shocker may have been on there as well. But, I think he may have been there in 2006 as well. I'm not sure. I don't think 2006, but for sure 2004. That's when he was a part of Team Mexico. And just, it was pretty good, cool concept to see all these international guys working there. But still, that's where he's going to be most remembered. But the thing, I guess, that also plagued Abismo Negro was the fact that he had a numerous amount of drug problems. I mean, and also constantly he no-showed events, and he was found yesterday in a river, drowned. So, and I believe was that he had a panic attack, an anxiety attack, trying to make the next town. He got off the bus and he fell and collapsed in the river and got stuck in there. So and just drowned to death, which is unfortunate and sad thing. Really, Abismo Negro is going to be missed a lot there in the Lucha community. So my condolences to Abismo Negro's family as well as the Steve Dole family. My condolences to them. Two young guys, once again, Abismo Negro died at, I believe, 37. So another set of people who don't even make the age of 50. They say deaths and any type of thing, we had, in wrestling mainly, they come in threes, even in rock or whatnot, they come in threes. We had Test, Steve Dahl, and Abismo Negro. So hopefully we can get a major gap between this, and hopefully we don't get any more deaths like this at all for 2009. But man, 2009 is not looking pretty good. Another plague with the deaths coming up, so that's just scary sight to see if we get another onslaught of young talent dying again. So that's just my thoughts there. But anyways, moving over to the March Badness show. Really, my thoughts. The pay-per-view was okay. If you don't mind me saying, I thought that the quality of the pay-per-view went as the event went on. I thought the MMA fights, the early ones were good. The Lashley fight, Lashley looked, impressive in spots, but it wouldn't be the greatest fight to, get him over on a national variety. The MMA main event between Roy Big Country Nelson and Jeff Monson, wasn't what you expected. And the boxing, really it was just, unfair matchmaking to me where you had one talent, completely better than his opponent. That's just my thoughts there. But anyways, we started things off with the Colonel Bob Sheridan introducing us and, whatnot. And then you look at the talent that was doing, the commentary, representing. The boxing side, we had Nate the Galaxy Warrior Campbell. I was fine with that because I've seen Nate Campbell give commentary before on, ESPN Friday Night Fights. He does a great job, and, he's a pretty well-known name and, being a multi-time champion, so he's, strong enough and a good candidate. But then we went to the MMA side. It was Seth the Silverback Petrozelli. How does this man get the credibility to do, commentary? He beat one guy, a fight that he was clearly going to win because Kimbo had no way to prepare for him. Not making excuses for Kimbo Slice, but still, one win. And apparently he's getting all these offers. You would have been, on the next Strikeforce card for sure if you're getting all these offers. Seth, you have not gotten much at all. You're doing, a pay-per-view that, they may not even do the concept again. I don't know, but really, I don't think you're getting that much offers. Yeah, you may have. There was an offer, a potential offer with you for doing a rematch with Kimbo, back on the K1 Dynamite show, but really, I don't think you're getting that much offers considering what you said about the whole fight you had. So that's just my thoughts. And anyways, we started things off with Danny Ruiz versus Dennis Hallman. Really, this was this is an okay MMA fight. It wasn't the greatest thing you're ever gonna. I don't even think okay is fair enough to say. It was just, the veteran Hallman. He took the fight to the ground. He took Ruiz down and choked him out, pretty quickly with about like 3 minutes left in the first round. It was just the veteran in Hallman. The guy has got to win over the, Matt Hughes back at UFC 29. So that's, pretty impressive there. He just beat Ruiz. He just outclassed him there. And it was just good to see, it was nice to see Hallman get back. He took a lot of time off. He got a pretty big win, on something that, on a card, I guess, that may get some notoriety and whatnot. But that's just my thoughts there. He just really outclassed Ruiz at all. That's all I got to say on that one. Then we went to the next, which was Din Thomas, absolutely decimating Gabe Lemley. Really, that's what he did. He got him up against the ropes. He delivered some great striking, and then he delivered a perfect Muay Thai clinch with a knee, followed up by a knee that, just rocked Lemley. Down he went, and that was the fight. Thomas looked, awesome as he normally does. And I think it may have been, just an outclassing this once again, but that's just my thoughts there. I didn't think the matchmaking was fair enough to get, some exciting dynamic fights. Whatnot. And then I think afterwards, I guess maybe the best part other than the knee would be Thomas calling out Chris Brown. It was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny in there. Then we went to the next fight, which was another MMA bout. It was Bobby Lashley making, his most, known fight as, we get something on pay-per-view a wider audience can see than the one he was on in Miami against Jason Guida. Really, this fight wasn't the greatest showcasing of Lashley. I mean, Lashley tried a takedown early on in the fight, but Guida, his arm was in the rope, and, I think that was, one of the problems I guess I had with the show was the ropes were pretty loose. I mean, they could have had someone like, in Pride or, even Dream now to pull the ropes, but whatnot. I understand why the ropes were loose because, you also had boxing fights, but that's just my thoughts there. And Lashley couldn't get him down because of that, and Lashley, I guess, from that point on thought, maybe I can't get this guy down, so he really just bum rushed Guida into the corner, and he just was in, clinches and delivering, shots and whatnot. And that was really the round. I mean, Lashley won just more for, dictating the pace, but it really wasn't the greatest performance. Lashley then got a takedown in the second round and, did decent enough on the ground. He won the round on that aspect. And, towards the end, I mean, in the first round, I should say, he had a nice little flurry and whatnot. In the second round, the takedown definitely got him the round. Third round, he got another takedown again, but he got caught. He got caught in a guillotine, and it was a deep-looking guillotine from Guida. I'll give Guida all the props in the world for that. He actually almost finished Lashley in a fight that he clearly wasn't going to win. But, yeah, I mean, Lashley, got the win by unanimous decision. I had it that way as well, 30-27. All scorecards, I scored it the exact same way as the judges. And really, to me, this wasn't a great showcase for Bobby Lashley. I mean, when you compare him to Lesnar, because that's going to happen, Lesnar's just a meaner guy. I mean, look at, their fight with Mir. He just took Mir down and started pummeling away on him. Lashley's just more, of an athlete and likes the spirit of competition. Brock just wants to kill you. So that's just my thoughts there. Would the UFC probably pick up Bobby Lashley? I don't know. I think he definitely needs more training, and even Lashley would admit that. He really doesn't train a fight, so his camp's trying to get him another fight about next month. I don't know if I like maybe next month, but whatnot. They still want him to train, so I guess that's why they're doing it. But I think, why can't he train either way? I don't understand he lives in Colorado and he has to train in Florida, but still, I wouldn't want to have him fight, next month. Maybe, in the summer at the latest. That's where I would have him go. Then we went to the first boxing event of the evening. It was BJ Flores absolutely outclassing Jose Luis Herrera. To me, it was Flores winning every round except one. I scored this fight 99-91. Flores, he just absolutely outworked him. It wasn't the greatest thing. I mean, it got old after a while that you knew Flores would win the fight. BJ Flores was going to win this fight. He absolutely, was great. He, picked his spots, whatnot. He actually hurt Herrera a couple times. But, he hurt him, I believe, in the third and didn't follow up in the fourth, which kind of shocked me. And I believe that's the round I gave to Herrera, as I was just, foolishness on Flores' part. BJ gets the win. But BJ conducted a nice little interview after. I mean, he's a very well-spoken person. Then there was another boxing fight, but I really didn't pay attention to that. I mean, it was caught up like in progress, or it was from earlier in the card, so I didn't really pay attention that much to it. Then we went to the MMA main event, which was Roy Big Country Nelson versus Jeff the Snowman Monson. Not the best fight in the world. I mean, the boxing fans were... I mean, not the boxing fan. I'd say everyone there was booing it, but that's because it wasn't a good fight. I mean, to me, I will give the boxing fans all the credit, because normally when you watch a show, the place is kind of empty, and that's just because they want to see the superstar in the main event, or just see the star... No, the star in the main event. I've said the same thing twice. But no, they're actually kind of interested to see what this MMA could do. So I will give the boxing fans the credit. I guess it would be, more of the MMA fans not wanting to see the boxing. So that's how I would have to take my opinion on there. So I'll give boxing fans enough credit for actually, trying to take interest in this other sport on this show. But really, this fight between Nelson and Monson wasn't the best going. I mean, the stand-up, when these two could let their hands really go, they didn't. Even on the ground, both guys are really well on the ground. Wasn't that impressive at all. Really, I was shocked with the overall decision of a victory for a 29-28 victory for Jeff Monson. I definitely thought on the third round, but to me, the first was completely a Nelson round. The second was, take or whatnot. I thought Nelson had a couple takedowns. Yeah, I didn't hold him down, and Monson powered out in one of them, but I still did give the second round to Roy Big Country Nelson. And then we went to the main event, which was Roy Jones Jr. versus Omar Shika. Once again, another fight where one absolutely outclasses the other. Jones Jr. just absolutely outclassed Omar Shika. It wasn't even fair. The referee stopped it in the fifth due to a cut over Shika's eye. It wasn't really a bad cut. It was going to more drip down his face than into his eye. I thought the stoppage was absolutely too early, but then again, I'd rather have, in this fight, it was better for it to be too early than, just more rounds of just domination and not something entertaining. Roy tries to make it entertaining with the dancing and whatnot, but this fight, you couldn't really help. I wish Roy would have had, someone more a true opponent to go up against him. That's just my thoughts. But anyways, overall, my opinion, the pay-per-view, I guess it would be a success as actually MMA and boxing work to an extent. I just wish, I think the only thing this thing lacked was quality fights, evenly matched opponents. Stuff of that nature. The undercard MMA fights, it was one guy absolutely outclassing the other. The main event, it just turned out not to be good, for MMA with Monson and Nelson. It just wasn't a good fight. And I guess I don't think it was good having two heavyweight bouts on the card, especially when, the two guys in one fight are both, wrestlers and like to take you down. You have Lashley likes to take you and whatnot. So that's just my thoughts there. And with the boxing, it's completely, let's get people that are evenly matched. That's just my thoughts there. With now the ROH show, I saw it. I was really impressed with it. I've seen a lot of people gripe, oh, there's no storylines. You know what I thought for, ROH and HDNet, they did a decent amount of job of, bringing you up to storylines and whatnot, especially for the main event with Tyler Black and Jimmy Jacobs. I thought they did a strong job there. Really, the first couple episodes, they're just to introduce the fans to ROH and whatnot, which is what you need. The only thing, I have a couple gripes. One, I wish there would have been more crowd heat. I believe these were taped in Philly or New York. I can't remember now. I wish the crowd would have been more vocal so, a first-time viewer would have understood what an ROH audience can be like. This felt like a crowd or whatnot. If you had this in New York or Chicago, I believe this was in Philly. It was really surprising that the Philly crowd, whatnot, wasn't all that into it. That's just my opinion there. And the second thing, I wish we would have had the champion on the first show. Not going to knock the first main event of Tyler Black versus Jimmy Jacobs, but I would have liked to at least maybe had the main event here that's going to be in the next week of Jay Briscoe versus Nigel McGuinness. I would have liked to have there just so the fans know the champion, and the champion has to make a strong presence on the first show. I would have had that. It seems weird that he's on the second show. But overall, I guess the production values weren't all that great, but then again, it's a vast improvement from, when Ring of Honor started, even to now with the handy cams and whatnot. It looked pretty good, and they had nice little camera angles, especially in the main event with Black had, his foot over Jacob's jaw, and they shot that really well, delivered the boot to that. I thought that was really well put together. And I think, HDNet eventually, HDNet and ROH are going to be a strong partnership. They seem to be doing a good job, and I mean, really, I think ROH can be good for, a strong wrestling fan who isn't into MMA, because it'll be, a nice lead into, an MMA programming that they have there on HDNet. That's one of the things HDNet wants, and plus they want you to call your cable provider to demand HDNet. I know HDNet here is available in Canada. That's how I was able to watch it. It's available on, Rogers Digital Cable, Bell Express View, and Star Choice. And I believe it isn't on one of the bigger cable systems in the States of Comcast. Hopefully it gets available there. I guess the last thing I can make mention of the show was the commentary. I thought he did a good job. It reminded me of stuff from, the regional promotions where you had, the strong sportscaster put into place who was able to, just call wrestling just because he was, they put him in there because he had a good voice and was able, he was able to eventually get the storytelling and whatnot, and he eventually was, calling moves and whatnot. He wasn't too rambunctious. Like, he had that mentality in him. He sounded kind of like Bill Watts. He wasn't too rambunctious like Don West was, who's like, oh my god, he's freaking out. He's freaking out over, the basic moves that Hogwood was not. I'll give him that. He's definitely going to get to understanding, because he's going to be watching all the tape shows and he has to do the voiceover. And I think Prazak can help him a lot. I mean, Prazak was definitely toned down, like he wanted to seem professional. But I think that's fine. I don't want, Prazak to be super into it like he is with Leonard. I think Prazak, he can be into it, but he is on a DVD. That's just my opinion. But anyways, overall, I thought the shows are going to be good. Hopefully you give them a chance if you get HDNet. Anyways, that's it for me. I am out. Peace.